Association.
On this fundamental issue, I will not yield, and Planned Parenthood will not yield.
All the odds are against us. Faithfulness is the word.
My religion compels me, and I love it for it, to be against discrimination of any kind in our country.
Our rights come from nature and God, not from government.
All God asks of you is faithfulness.
35 years of fighting for the family, standing for the church, and laboring to return to a moral and biblically based culture. This is the American Family Association and AFA Today.
It is AFA Today. It's a brand new week from New York City, and we're glad that you're with us. AFA Today with Kevin McCullough. That's my name, and we welcome you into what is turning into a quite beautiful, busy day in New York City. If you see on the screen there, if you're watching at afr.net, or if you've got AFA, the AFA channel, lots of people out for a Monday in the midst of the hubbub of all that is the busyness of New York City. And so we do welcome you to a brand new edition, a brand new week of AFA Today. Kevin McCullough, glad to be with you. I've got a lot of news to get to today. That's not surprising. And after the busy news day that we had on Friday, I want to give you a chance to respond to as much of it as possible. 888-589-8840 is the number. 888-589-8840. But we've got a lot to discuss today because my new piece is out at onenewsnow.com. And I asked the editor, my editor there, Jody Brown, I said, what did you think of this piece? And he said, at first, I thought it was a bit edgy or provocative. He said, but what's really great about it is you really get to learn something about you in the process of reading through this piece. And I would tremendously encourage you to go to onenewsnow.com and read the brand new piece by yours truly, Kevin McCullough, titled Why American Racism is Impossible to Defeat. This was not an article that brought me a lot of comfort. It was more or less a stating of the reality of where things are at today. It's not because millions of people don't want to see racism defeated. It's not because there aren't millions of people that are burdened by the problematic aftermath of racism. It's that there are some invested parties that have no interest in wishing it to be cured. In fact, I say in the fourth paragraph, it is impossible to cure a societal sickness when parties don't wish for it to be cured in the first place. And that's the problem. That's the problem. We are living in a day in which people don't want to see the cure for racism come forward. There is more to be gained by keeping an industry of grievance and anger and outrage than there is to find real solutions. And so that's what this piece is about. I would encourage you to go take a look at it and tell me for yourself what you think about it. It's called Why American Racism is Impossible to Defeat. And that's just an observation of the current state and day in which we live. But I'm interested in your reaction to it. My number is 888-589-8840. My email address is kmcradio@gmail.com. You can also reach me on facebook.com/KMC01 or afatoday.com. Either one of those will find their way to me. And then also on Twitter @KMC Radio. But and we can talk about that in a moment. What I also want to just make you aware of is that there's some other news headlines that are in process. ADF, the American Alliance Defending Freedom, is announcing that they are going to pursue fraud cases against Planned Parenthood. In Texas, it has worked out pretty interesting. The Texas Attorney General there, Greg Abbott, announced plans by the Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast, based out of Houston, to have to pay $1.4 million because they did something quite naughty. They billed the state's Medicaid program for services not rendered and not medically necessary. This is another way, friends, that we can go after Planned Parenthood, is by holding them accountable for what they say they're doing and what they're actually doing for their billings. And in Texas, to lose $1.4 million for that state's Planned Parenthood operation, that's significant. So good for them. But the ADF is pursuing additional lawsuits against them. Michael Norton, senior counsel at the Alliance Defending Freedom, told One News Now the law firm is moving forward with a new lawsuit alleging fraud in Texas, Iowa, and Washington State. Regarding the Attorney General's pursuit of fraud charges, Michael Norton, senior counsel at ADF, recalls that Planned Parenthood claimed it was operating in a hostile environment and was settling the case as a convenience. But when you pay off $1.4 million, he says, that seems pretty self-evident for what it is. In a statement, the Attorney General in Texas, Abbott, alleged that state investigators, quote, determined that Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast falsified material information in patients' medical records in order to support fraudulent reimbursement claims to the Medicaid program, citing one example of fraud that was discovered. All Planned Parenthood abortion clinics come under the same national umbrella, and Norton believes the same practices are likely nationwide. They have some of the same policies, procedures, practices in various jurisdictions, said the ADF attorney. So we're finding more and more similarity in the kinds of conduct that we see in specific jurisdictions to those that have been identified, for example, by the Texas Attorney General in this case. So what you have here is you have the Alliance Defending Freedom citing the fact that in Texas they found that Planned Parenthood was committing fraud on a wide-scale basis, enough to create a settlement of $1.4 million that they're going to have to pay in fines and back monies back to the state. Their suspicion is this is going on in a lot of other places, and we should go after them. Turns out that's probably exactly the case. So what we're talking about today is another angle, another slice as to how to get at that behemoth that is sucking up tax dollars at a rate incomprehensible. We may find another way to hit them here, and I hope that we do, and I hope that we hit them hard. And good news for Alliance Defending Freedom going after that case. Again, that is also something that you can see at onenewsnow.com. That's onenewsnow.com for that information. All right, my number is 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. We are glad that you're with us every single day. Another story that came across the wire over the weekend and was rather disturbing is that, speaking of attorneys general, there are now 9 of them that are fighting back against new guidelines from the Obama administration. And here's what these guidelines say. These guidelines say from the feds to the states. Okay, so this is the federal government saying to the state government, you, the state government, must go tell the small businesses, you must go tell all the businesses in your states that they may not do criminal background checks in their hiring processes anymore. And the reason that the feds are saying this is because they say that it encourages racial bias and discrimination in the hiring process. And then they cite the fact that African-American men are incarcerated at a rate 10 times that of the rest of the entirety of the nation, and therefore it would wrongfully discriminate against African-American men in the process of these of hiring. Now, I'm very curious as to your thought on this. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Again, here's how it happens. The feds are telling the states that you may not conduct, that the businesses within your state may not conduct criminal background checks going forward. And then if they end up going forward with those things, as they have in South Carolina in 2 situations, then the feds are now suing those companies for violating these guidelines. Now, 888-589-8840. The logic behind this is what? The benefit to people of color is what? How does not performing criminal background checks advance greater racial equality in the country? See, these are the questions that need to be asked when we see policies come down, but I don't ever hear anybody in the media actually ask them. I feel like I'm kind of alone out there going, hello, flag-waving monkey, look at me. Did anybody think about this before they... Please explain this to me. 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. Brent, do we have a problem with the phone system? All right, I will do that. We had our phone system go down just momentarily. We're getting back up to speed. 888-589-8840. Here's what I want to have you answer. How does the prevention of businesses running criminal background checks on people that they hire. Notice I didn't say that they're only going to run them against African Americans, and I didn't say that that other races get a pass. No, when a company hires people, they hire people across a spectrum, and every person that comes into that business, companies that run them, they generally tend to run them on everybody. How does running a criminal background check advance the cause, or not running it? How does preventing a company from running a criminal background check advance the cause of greater racial equality across the board? This is what the feds are saying. This is the reason why they're asking companies not to do it. But it doesn't, to me, seem to make a bit of sense. It doesn't make sense to 9 of the states either. That's why there's 9 attorneys general that have fought back against these guidelines and may even sue the federal government to prevent them from forcing them upon the states. But they signed a letter last Wednesday to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which voted in April to put in these new guidelines. So this has been in effect for a while. And they warned that such checks can discriminate. This is what the EEOC was saying, that these checks can discriminate against African Americans because they are arrested at a disproportionate rate. That disproportionate rate is 10 times African American males, 10 times the rate of all of the rest of the population combined. But 15 months after issuing these guidelines, which included the recommendation that businesses eliminate all criminal background checks from their hiring policies, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, filed lawsuits against 2 major entities, Dollar General stores and a BMW facility in South Carolina. And the reason that they brought these suits against these 2 entities is, they say, because of alleged civil rights, exclusively on the basis of the fact that they were conducting criminal background checks. So help me understand why this is in some way racially unequal or racially biased to run criminal background checks. I hear what the feds are saying. It doesn't make sense to me. The other question that I could ask is, do small businesses, do business owners, forget the word small, do business owners at all have the right to say about their private corporations, we have the right to hold as a standard that we will not choose to hire people convicted of felonies. Maybe we will choose to hire people that are convicted of misdemeanors. Maybe we won't. Maybe we will say, as a very small company in Timbuktu, Minnesota, maybe our little jam and jelly store doesn't want to hire anybody that's ever broken the law and been convicted of it, whether it's misdemeanor or felonies. But the question I have is, isn't that up to the owner of the business? Can't the owner of the business decide if they're willing to hire somebody that has a former record? Why should that be forced upon them by the federal government? And, of course, there are some obvious follow-up questions to that pertaining to a whole number of things that we can get into. But I want to know your thoughts on this. 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. I think that's correct. Okay. I have too many phone numbers that run around in my head. 888-589-8840, and all phone lines are full right this minute, but if you get a busy signal, call right back. We'll get to you. So I want to discuss that, and then that's going to lead into the discussion of my article that's also on onenewsnow.com that you can see there as well. But it's a very important discussion to have, because here you have the intersection of relationships based on ethnicity, relationships based on the feds to the states to the private businesses, and the businesses to their workers. And you have the issue of fairness and what is truly right, good, and just. So we're going to talk about all of it today here on AFA Today. I'm Calvin McCullough. Very glad to have you with us on the Monday edition. Thanks for telling your friends. More online at afatoday.com. Back in a moment here on AFR Talk.